Rhett, it's so good to see you.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Oh my God.
On behalf of all the automobile dealers in the United States, we appreciate your ability to attract so many smart people into one podcast and give them the information they need to deal with what's going on today. So thank you very much. But it's always good to sit down and give you a few minutes on what we're doing at the NADA.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My whole strategy is just hang around people smarter than me. So it's good that you recognize that I'm executing on that. Look, every time we've talked, the situation has been different because it's developing on a day-by-day basis. I know a lot of things are starting to break open all across the country. So I think it's just appropriate to just let us know, what are you seeing, and let's speak to the industry from your vantage point.
Well, I'm more than happy to, and they say brevity is an art form, but I can assure you at the NADA, there's a multitude of things that are still happening on Capitol Hill, although the payment PPP program kind of took front stage here for a while, and this new COVID legislation is next. I can assure everyone that the NADA is on those things. The new one that's kind of popping its head through the door, in which we got both eyes on it, and that is the new safe harbor interpretation for us dealers. Actually, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is taking a look at all businesses, on all my dealer friends out there, on how we can have some sort of protection from frivolous lawsuits in the future when it comes to our ability to keep a clean, safe environment for not only our employees, but also our customers. And, we're busting our tails every day to do it. It seems as though the exact language is articulated by each city or township or state and government to what they consider to be safe. And we're doing the best we can. Let me tell you, the dealers across the country are doing a spectacular job, taking care of their facilities, almost hospital-like in some cases.
Absolutely.
Some of the dealers I visited. So I like to thank them for that. So the new safe harbor, it's in there now. It's in their new COVID legislation coming up. Our staff is on I'd say they're on Capitol Hill, but in the old days, they'd be walking the halls. Now they're on their phones. And that's the advantage of a 100-year organization such as the NADA, that we have relationships so that we have those phone numbers for all the staff, for our legislators and the legislators themselves, to make sure our communications 24/7, because this is a pretty quick moving subject right now, and we're on top of it. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think of that, but of course, right? This is America. Whenever there's an opportunity for a lawsuit, it's coming. So the fact that you're out in front of that, it's so important. I agree. I just turned in a lease that I had yesterday, and I went into a dealership, and they had all kinds of protocol in place. Here's where the sanitized pens are and where they're not. Here's the doors that are locked. Here, walk with me this way. They had signs on the tables, say, this is sanitized, you can sit here. And then as soon as you sit there, they took the sign away to make sure that it wasn't mistaken. I've been very impressed also from a first-person experience, and would just echo your comments on that I've watched dealers almost hospital-like situations. So it's awesome to know that the safe harbor conversation is going, because probably for a lot of dealers, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't even think that that's probably coming next.
It's there now. Just so you know that. I mean, there are tort attorneys already got their feet in the starting blocks, waiting for the gun to go off.
Yep.
There are thousands of lawsuits today as we're speaking,
wow,
with nursing homes and hospitals. And sooner or later, unless there's some sort of articulation and acceptable guidelines that all businesses can abide by, you always have these cracks that become craters. So that is our responsibility at the NADA, is to make sure we have our hands on this for our dealers, and also the state ATAs and the dealers right now. I told you in Las Vegas, I said, stay involved, stay strong, and be damn proud you're with the NADA. And I couldn't be prouder of the NADA now. I'm proud how strong the dealers are, but you need to stay involved, because many of these states, and not all states, control the destiny of this tort issues when it comes to CDC guidelines, safe harbor issues like that. So I really urge my dealer body out there today, and you're wonderful enough to provide this platform. Stay involved with your ATAE and your state government. Ask what you can do to help, because this is the next issue that we're really facing. It's one of our top 3 issues, and it's something we got our teeth into this one.
Very good. No, that's a great encouragement. Let me ask you this. So you get to see dealers and hear stories from all across the country. Can you think of one or two that really encourage you and you think would encourage other people listening?
Sometimes that's a great question, and I get excited and passionate to talk about it because it's not necessarily someone that dealers have historically been philanthropic in their giving of their time and their monies and their sharing. But it's some of the smaller markets where dealers have been shut down. They have been unable to sell cars. Sure, they're essential service, or as I like to call, critical service. Mm-hmm. But here they are operating with basically a trickle of income, and yet they have their showrooms open, serving meals to the community. Can you imagine that? You're going backwards and you're going forward with your community. You're not going to find that with any other organization in the United States, probably the world. The dealers that are sitting there in a backward environment, and yet they're leaning forward and giving more than you could ever imagine in the community, as well as the bigger items, which we have dealers in some of the metro areas supplying vehicles for delivery for home, for Meals on Wheels, bringing meals to hospitals. I noticed Jay Feldman there and our dealer friend out of Detroit giving 1,000 or plus 1,000 of these iPads to the hospitals so these patients can be able to communicate with the outside world with visitation. Things like that are just amazing. They're uncountable because, as we're speaking, there are thousands more being done today than you could ever imagine. So what I'm impressed with are the dealers that really don't have the means because of the situation they're put in. And to them, it doesn't make any difference. They're going to give everything they have to their community. Unbelievable.
That is just the fabric of this industry. Like, I love that you pointed that fact out, that, it doesn't have to be a big, highly resourced, highly liquid, like small individual dealers, the mom and pops, the ones that the community knows, like there's never been a better opportunity for them to shine. Frankly, the fact that you're saying, like, there's nothing in it for me but to serve you.
And I got to tell you, I think we're early on in this baseball game, and you take a look at some of these bigger companies currently filing for bankruptcy. You look at JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, all the rest of them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The dealers, we're in there holding our line. We're in there keeping our communities together. We're keeping people employed. We're putting people back to work.
That's right.
We're putting people back to work. We're taking advantage of this. There's pent-up demand. I can assure my dealer body out there, you can't go 2.5 months without making brand new automobiles without having pent-up demand. There is going to be pent-up demand. And we're going to work through this thing, but it's going to be a slow grind with us. But in the meantime, you're in the used car business, have your antennas up, and remember, it's a little bipolar right now.
Yep.
Take those services that you can do in your dealership and your parts and service operation and used car operations, and let's ride this thing out together. And I can assure you the NADA is up there, as I told you before, we're at 80,000 feet, and nothing's getting past us. We know exactly what's going on, and we're addressing the issues, the bigger issues, as I mentioned, safe harbor. We're trying to extend this forgiveness provision that's now 8 weeks.
Yep.
The restaurant associations at 24 weeks.
Yep.
We quite frankly think it should be longer than that unless we have some certainty. So we're working on the behalf of every dealer in the United States.
Rhett, thank you so much for doing this again. I really appreciate the time, and just the feedback from your session is amazing, giving us that 80,000 foot view and also what it looks like in small town America, watching dealers just give back and lean in and serve. I know you're in it for the long haul. It feels good that you're in the seat. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. You got quite a distinguished group of speakers here. Congratulations to you, and I encourage everyone to tune in on some of these subject matter that you might need to get a little bit more educated on, because you got some experts in this, and we appreciate you bringing them on this webcast. Thank you. And thank you for every dealer in the United States. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Mm-hmm.